Cost of fertiliser has more than doubled for farmers here in Australia. That is on top of increases in diesel, transport, other farming input costs. So joining me live now is primary producer Charlie Blomfield from Canawindra in New South Wales. Sorry, is that right,
close.
Charlie?
Yeah. I couldn't pronounce it before we moved here either.
Please put me out of my misery. What is it?
Canowindra, that's okay.
Okay, Canowindra. I just didn't want to say Caloundra because I know they're very different parts of the world.
I wish I was sitting at Caloundra. That'd be nice.
No, you don't. The beautiful part of the world. Thanks so much for your time, Charlie. Apologies for that and all your neighbours. Just tell us, what's the situation like for you at the moment? What do you need?
Yeah, it's a world of uncertainty that everybody's living in at the moment. Supplies of our key inputs at our crucial time of year when we're planting crops and growing our effective income for the next 12 months is sort of all thrown up in the air. What people need at the moment is really prioritisation of agriculture for our key inputs. That includes diesel, fertiliser and, open and clear supply chains. And that's what we're not getting that at the moment.
Right. So how quickly did the costs of all those things go up?
Immediately. We saw that the price of diesel, it's pretty well doubled now, and there are supply issues coming out into regional areas, which has been widely covered. But fertiliser is the one that is the thing that we really focused on for winter. So, sorry, the trees are dropping leaves on me. Fertiliser is short in supply. We have urea sitting in our shed at the moment, which most of that comes through the Strait of Hormuz. It's made in the Middle East and comes through. And we got the second last truck to come out of Newcastle, and apparently after that, there's none left until the end of May. So a lot of people are making decisions on those sort of shortfall in supply. Okay,
so what decisions are you making then? Do you plant less? What is it?
Yes, you can change crop types. So you can stop growing crops that have got a high requirement of nitrogen. You can switch to pastures and increase your livestock in your business, which means less wheat or less, whatever crop it is you're downscaling. So that flows through. What that means for the people on the ground is that if we're growing less wheat or less fruit and vegetables, the price of what we do have goes up.
Charlie, can you absorb it?
No. When the price of your key inputs doubles, that is very difficult to absorb in our business. Margins are already sort of tight at normal input costs. So when inputs double, you see a lot of businesses will rationalise either what they're growing. I have a lot of mates that have scaled back their growing area, or some that are even deciding to sit this one out and plant again in summer.
Yeah, right. So you sit a whole season out. So instead of losing money or throwing good money after bad, you just go, well, actually, we're going to sit this one out. And then what we see at the supermarket is the price of everything going up.
Correct, yes. And it does take a little bit of time to flow through there because our supply chain is long, our growing seasons are long. So decisions we make today may not really come home to roost until the end of the year after harvest, or say in a horticulture sense, it might be 10 weeks or 12 weeks until that fresh produce is ready.
Right. So the government's just spent $2.5 billion in cutting their excise for 3 months on fuel. That includes diesel fuel. I know farmers use a lot of diesel fuel. Are you seeing any of the benefits of that?
It has no impact for primary producers. We get a fuel tax credit. So we pay the fuel price and then we can claim the credit for fuel that's used off the main roads. So fuel excise cut has no impact for primary production whatsoever.
So what are you paying for a litre of diesel right now for use on the farm?
We're nearly paying double what we were paying before pre-war.
Right. So is there any help coming your way, either indirectly or directly?
There's a lot of PR and communications coming through of how they're going to underwrite imports or do things like that. They seem to be very short-term focused initiatives to placate the people, if you will, rather than addressing the actual issues. So we do have some domestic fertiliser production capabilities coming online. There's a couple of projects in Australia, namely a big one in Western Australia, and there's also one in South Australia. There's talks about it in New South Wales as well. But they have a range of hurdles in front of them, whether it be environmental constraints, capital constraints, whatever it may be. You know, $2.5 billion of the fuel excise cut alone, plus the $1 billion that's coming in interest-free loans to businesses that could be impacted, that could go a long way to generating industry in Australia and generate some of these key inputs that we need.
Right, so that's more of a medium-term solution, though, right?
Absolutely.
We've seen assurances given from Indonesia that fertiliser and urea will keep on coming our way, but you've still seen the costs go up. So
the reality of it, like those countries, Indonesia, or say if you're talking about refined petroleum products, Singapore, Malaysia, or even the exports of fertilisers out of China, they will look after their own first before we get anything else. So we're going to have to get in line. And yes, if there's excess, we will get it. But to be very clear, they will look after their own first. And that's just natural. That's what they should be doing. It's what we should be doing. We just don't have the option.
Right. So just does my head in that we just spent $2.5 billion to give people in the city, $20 off the cost of fuel. I've had, these conversations with many Nationals MPs as well. David Littleproud saying, well, we do need to encourage city people to get out to the regions because a lot of it relies on tourism. But it feels to me that doesn't really touch the sides at the moment. It's the farmers like you that we need to look after. And I hate looking to government for every single solution, but surely this is the time where we all get together and say, you know what? Our budget is not in the position we need it to be, but we need to look after the farmers and, all of us the rest of us need to tighten our belts. Is that your view of things? What would you say to us here in the city? I've just, with my pronunciation, I've just, proved that I'm a city girl.
Yeah, no, I agree, Laura. The unity across parties in the government is something that's really holding us apart. Holding us back from, progressing. They're playing short-term party politics, which is what they do, right? They don't have long-term interests in their eyes at the moment. So the more they fight, the more they divide the population between right, left, and green and not green, and all the rest. The worse it gets. They need to come together. They need to focus. Part of the issue is not only addressing the issues that are sitting in front of us, but also taking ownership of what has caused this problem. Labor didn't create this. Anthony Albanese is not at fault. He's the captain of the cricket team at the moment that's not performing well, and he has to deal with it. But this is a making of the LNP, it's a making of the Nationals, it's a making of Labor, and they all need to recognise that they've had something to do with it and then get together to actually make stuff happen.
If only, mate. If only that could happen in some kind of timeline that helps us all. Hope it does. Call me a cynic,
it's agitation. I think it's like it's this interview, it's other platforms, it's listening to the people on the ground. I think their echo chamber in Canberra is not working. They need to listen to what's happening on the ground, and it's whether it be through conversations like this or other mediums. There's a lot of stuff happening in real time. I heard you say just before that the news coming from Trump comes through social media and it's live. You get it at the same time as the general population get it. Well, this is exactly the same. We're all talking about this. People need to listen. It's happening in real time. By the time it goes through the traditional advocacy pathways, that's months, and the message gets watered down and they don't do anything with it.
Charlie, tell me, I know we've just talked about fertiliser and fuel being the biggest, fertiliser and urea being one of the biggest issues for you here. Yes, diesel fuel as well. It seems to me a supply issue, and the government is flat out saying, no, we don't need rationing yet. My feeling now is ration before it gets bad. What's your feeling on that?
They're already rationing.
Yeah.
So the companies that control the gate
imposed.
That's right. The companies that control the gate terminals, they are rationing. They are dictating who gets the fuel when and how much. So, the gate terminals are owned by companies that have their own interests. They have their own service station networks, or they have contracts with mining companies and all the rest. So the priorities are the issue. And that does cause then the supply issue. So if the priorities are going to metro service station networks because you can't have a service station running out in Mossman, well, that means that the service station in Wilcannia runs out instead. Or the mines get the fuel, but the primary production industry does not.
Charlie, so good to talk to you today. Keep in touch. We hope to get you back on really soon.
Thank you very much, Laura. Canandra.
Canandra. But to be fair, tricky spelling, I've got to say. Let's go live to Herald Sun Association.